Buddy, it's Brian Shannon from alphatrends.net. It is Thursday, the 24th, Christmas Eve, and the markets are closed for the week. We had a shortened session, of course, today, and for the week, we were basically mixed here. Russell 2000 continues to be the outperformer. Everything else just basically flat here and really uneventful. The S&P 500, as we know, came down to that prior band of resistance and the volume-weighted average price from that peak, and that's where buyers were found. They basically rescued the market, and now we continue to hold above the on a closing basis above that rising 20-day moving average. So when we look at a 15 or a 30-minute chart like we see here, we just see a big giant mess. So I think that the most important thing to do is back it up and look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is still quite bullish. By the way, we're going to talk about cryptos here in a few minutes as well. But the bigger picture is still bullish. I don't view it as any reason for concern unless we close below this past week's low. So this is the important level that we want to see holding, continuing into in next week and the end of the year. The NASDAQ also saw a pullback right to the rising 20-day moving average. That's the second time that buyers have been found there in the last 3 weeks and rescued the market at that point from further profit taking. And here on a 30-minute time frame, we still see an overall bullish pattern that is just slowing down and catching its breath. I don't see anything to be concerned about. The Russell 2000 is the runaway train here that continues to torment short sellers. We saw a breakdown below the 5-day moving average, but again, as I always point out, it's the direction of that 5-day moving average that's more important than certainly an open below it or even a close below it. But again, the 5-day moving average continues to rally, and that tells us that it's foolish to try to pick a top here or look for anything deeper in terms of a pullback. Now, one area that has been a little bit more reason for not concern, but just reason to watch it a little bit more carefully is the semiconductors. As I said, the market was mixed, and these guys were down 1% for the week. But when we look at the daily chart, still closing right around that 20-day moving average. Over to the 30-minute time frame, this was the bearish scenario that I had pointed out that if it occurred would have bearish implications, that is, for the broader market. Fortunately, we're not seeing that, but this 210.5 level, 211, is the key area that we want to see continue to hold for the semiconductors. If they can maintain above that, then a scenario like this will not occur. But if we start to break down below that level, then and stay below 210.5 on a closing basis, I think it's highly likely we could see a deeper pullback, perhaps towards that 200-day moving average. Maybe that's a New Year's surprise. Who knows? I'm not here to predict. I'm here to look at what we currently have to anticipate what the potential scenarios are. I know when to press the gas and when to back off a little bit. And right now it's time to back off a little bit until we have some more certainty from the market. The biotechs continue to behave very well. I've mentioned to subscribers that our stops are now right underneath the low that we saw a couple days ago from an intermediate term swing trading standpoint. So they continue to be innocent until proven guilty. Let's look at those cryptos. I had mentioned on Twitter yesterday, and basically right before, for instance, Ethereum was 597 when I tweeted that I was out of all cryptos. And I think a lot of people misunderstood why I did that. There's a couple things. If you look at Ripple, which is XRP USD, they had some regulatory issues, and this really fell apart. So here's a 4-hour chart. This is November 16th, December 22nd. So basically they completely fell apart. I've been involved in Bitcoin, as I mentioned over and over again on Twitter and in these videos, from the beginning of this move right over here, 12,000. I've also been involved in Litecoin since over here, and Ethereum back in this area right here at about the 420-ish level. So my crypto account has nearly doubled in the last 3 months. What I do every single year at the end of the year is I take my gains and I pay my taxes. I'm not a buy and hold in the cryptos. I don't really believe in them. So I want to clear the books and make it room for next year, basically to start over again. Now, what I didn't do, which I looking in hindsight, I might have put a bid in at the volume weighted average price from this November, beginning of November low. You can see how well this market is. Let's look at the 4 hour. So yesterday, right after I sold it, came right down to that level. I have not repurchased. I'm not sure when I will repurchase these things. Ideally, I'd like to just purchase them in January. But Bitcoin really holds up much better than the other cryptos. You can see that this is the volume weighted average price from the breakout, and it's been holding it just like a champ in there. If it breaks down a little bit further, I would think that about 22 is where the next potential level of buyers will be found. What I'm really likely to do this weekend is to study these charts a little bit more carefully and figure out some spots for some real low ball type of bids. So stocks this week were just amazing. I mean, we've been holding this ONEM since $36 in Alpha Trends. We just got stopped out of UAVS today. We purchased that at $2.87 right at the beginning of the move, and we got stopped out of the balance there at $7 per share today. Sumo we're involved in at $27.20 per share. Fuel Cell we're involved in this one from $8.90 per share. Office Depot we're involved in at $28.55. It's not doing anything yet, but keep an eye on this one next week. If we can break this little range, then it is a good bullish chart for the longer term. There's the volume weighted average price off the peak in 2017, and that's looking good. A couple stocks, I'd mentioned Glue on Twitter. This is a good one to watch for next week. We're not involved in it yet, but if you look at this weekly chart, it looks kind of like a big cup and handle if you're into patterns. More importantly, on the shorter term time frames, here are our volume weighted average price levels from all these different areas, and probably getting back above this little high from today. Let's just say back above 980. I would say a worst case stop for me would go under here. Most likely I'd put it even a little bit closer. And then Angie is another one. It did take off here today. I didn't get involved in it, but this is another good one to keep an eye on. And we've just had some massive winners. This CLNE was another one. We bought this one 5 days ago at I think it was $5.18 or somewhere 5.05 maybe. We got out of the balance of that one yesterday as well. Anyways, Merry Christmas everyone. I hope it's been a good year for you so far, and I will be in touch with you again next week.